Good. Hey, so I don't know if we're having a system issue. I got a voicemail this morning dated February 28th from you. I don't know if you called 6 months ago, and something happened in our system, and I just got the voicemail message, or if you called recently and the dating system in our voicemail is wrong.
No, it's very odd. I did speak to an officer. That officer lied. It's part of an ongoing issue with Tampa PD that has been going on. Just been lies and incompetence with your police department. So that's why I called on the 28th. There was an issue. There still is an issue.
What's the issue?
Well, my mother needs mental health help,
Okay.
and she's not getting it. And it's a real weird issue where, for some reason, it's just being denied that there's even a possibility that there's anything going on. There's lots of very suspicious activity. Back in February, one of the reasons I called was my mother was threatened by a person. I believe it seems like he's in D.C., but either way, somebody over the internet. But she's not mentally able to process that. So it was never even reported to the police because the police officers there were so ridiculous incompetent. It's just, I really don't know any other way to put it, that literally didn't even explore whether or not there's anything possibly wrong at all. And like I said, at the time, I was facing charges from Tampa PD because that's how ridiculous Tampa PD is, in which they themselves somehow had it in their head there's nothing possibly could be wrong with my mother. Everything could possibly be wrong with me. And just is basically allowing people to take advantage of my mother now for years. Now there's been multiple people in the city of Tampa that have taken advantage of my mother's mental health, instability, specifically because of the police in Tampa have encouraged and allowed that behavior. So that's why I called in February, if you understand that.
Okay. What's the address where this is taking place at, or where your mom lives at?
I don't have it fully memorized. Hold on one second. I can give it to you, but it's in the. I don't even remember the name of her neighborhood. One second. Let me just look at her contact. I believe it is. Five.
Okay. And I mean, is she suicidal or homicidal when law enforcement's coming in contact with her, or is this a question about just a
She has
depression?
been both. She's mentally unstable. It's kind of one of the weird situations that I don't like. I really don't know how to communicate it any more clearer. She is mentally unstable, so she has been suicidal. She has been harmful to me. One of the reasons I called in February is because I have a terminal illness, and her actions do affect me physically. And I've had Tampa PD many times over act as if that's not even happening. But yes, she is suicidal. She is harmful. She has done many things. She has randomly reported my daughter, who's in California, as being missing. We still don't have a reason or understanding of that. More recently, like I said, she hasn't reported threats that she has received. So there's no understanding of that. She doesn't seem to understand the legal procedure or the legal process. So that's going on as well with her mental health. There's a lot of things going on. The main issue is that for whatever reason, some officer in Tampa noted back in 2020 that apparently my mother told him that I had bipolar, never investigated, never followed up with it, and then noted in the system that apparently nothing could be wrong with my mother ever because I have bipolar in San Francisco. Somehow or another, even if that was true, that would not, you know what I mean, eliminate any concerns or needs for my mother's mental health concerns. If anything, it would be increased. Because if I have mental health issues as her son, it would be more likely that my parents also have mental health issues. So it's been very confusing.
Okay. Yeah, I will try to find what's your mom's name. Can I get that?
Yes,
Or
it is.
if you're associated on any reports, your information, either one, I'll take.
Yeah, yeah. Like I am. I mean, this is very much related to a criminal case, which is what's really odd, in the sense of it's been denied this entire time. That there's any kind of association to the fact that I was arrested on a felony charge. Now it's been reduced to a misdemeanor of supposedly misusing 911, which isn't even possible because I'm in San Francisco, so I can't even call 911 unless I wanted to. The only people that I can call in Tampa are the non-emergency line. And the non-emergency line, for some reason, many of your officers have been trained that apparently that the qualifications for the Baker Act are different than those listed by law. In other words, my mom has contacted mental health facilities in Florida wanting to have a mental health evaluation, but because of her mental health instability, has not followed through. According to the Baker Act, wanting or having wanted to have a mental health evaluation and then either not going through with it or not understanding why a mental health evaluation would be needed would qualify for an involuntary mental health evaluation. My mother has had these qualifies. For some reason the police officers are not enforcing the law.
Well, our training is I mean, number one, you have the ability to go to the courts, and
I'm in San Francisco. That's another thing which is very just incompetent of the police. It's as if Tampa PD believes that the only solve for a mental health issue is for me to get on a plane all the way across the country to try to confront my mother on my own, who is mentally unstable and who is unable to understand these things over the phone, over written communication. The only reason my mother is not receiving mental health care is because Tampa PD continuously has told her there is nothing wrong with her based on simply asking her if she's okay or if she's going to harm someone. At the time, disregarding the fact that she was currently harming me. Many times over, my mother has been in the process of harming me while I have called Tampa PD and said, hey, I really need you guys to help out on this. They
you in California at the time. Or
Exactly. Yes, I live in California. I don't live in Tampa. I've never been to Tampa, and I don't really have the means to go to Tampa. I'm physically unable. It's again one of those things. Just to try to be clear, I have a terminal illness. I'm not able just to physically travel that way as it is anyway. So it's not likely that I can get to Tampa. Simply just because it's kind of taxing health wise. So I'm sorry. I really don't want to keep going on because I feel as if I've communicated as clearly as possible that there's basically is a current situation in which Tampa PD can help. I've asked a judge to help. In my criminal case, they would rather just dismiss the case than even try to help. I've reached out to you guys many a times. I'm in the process of trying to do a complaint with the Attorney General. But my goal isn't to sue you guys. My goal is just to grant my mom's help. And I understand that it's been miscommunication. I understand it's complicated. She is mentally unstable, which makes it very difficult to be able to communicate with her. But it feels very odd that there hasn't been any attempt to have a full understanding of what's going on.
Okay. What's her name?
Jerry. She goes by, it's spelled differently, but her, I guess, what nickname or commonly referred to name is Jerry.
What's her legal name?
R. And then the last name is Estrada. Estrada.
Okay. I will try looking her up that way. All right.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of info in the system. I have contacted your local representatives. I've spoken to various officers. The officer that I last spoke to, I believe, in June, it may have been May, I believe she said she was the head of behavioral services, or basically the officer who,
No, the BHU unit. Okay.
yes. But she again also misquoted the Baker Act, and also assumed that the way to solve my mother's mental health issues are that I somehow can do it by traveling cross country and not by having her reviewed by a medical professional. I couldn't
That's a
understand.
clinician that talked to you. That's a licensed doctor that works for the Tampa Police Department and evaluates it because everyone thinks that we can just bake rack for general mental health issues, and that's not it. We
No,
have
I
to
know
be
you can't.
particularly tied to an immediate threat for suicide or immediate threat for physical harm.
Yeah, and
If
that's
you're in California, there's no immediate threat for
there
immediate
is,
physical
sir,
harm.
and that's exactly the point. That's when it's really odd that you guys can't understand how that can happen, and yet I was arrested over the same thought process. Literally, you Tampa PD issued a warrant halfway across the country, had me jailed specifically on that same thought process that there was possible physical harm for me in California, for me to somehow be harming the mayor in Florida. Literally, that's what your police department came through, that's what your judges came through. So it's very insulting and just illogical for you to be on the phone with me telling me that there wasn't any immediate threat to my harm simply because my mother was in Florida and I was in California. That's what doesn't make any sense. Do you understand that?
I hear what you're saying. I'm just going to tell you that the guidance that we receive from attorneys and licensed clinicians, I don't see how that we could tie that. I mean,
Well, you don't see it because you're
it's
not thinking. That's what I'm saying. This is like I don't understand this incompetence. How are you not thinking? So are you saying to me that you believe that the only way that someone can be harmed is by their physical presence in front of them?
well, it's not as simple as that.
Exactly. So why are you making it so simple in this situation? How is it that in a situation which mental health services are needed, you are trying to make it that simple?
No, I'm not trying to make it. You're trying to have law enforcement take on responsibilities that aren't within law
No, I'm
enforcement.
not. Again, you're being insulting. No, I have not. If again, right now, this is the situation. My mother has already qualified under the law. In other words, she has already went to a mental health facility and said, I need a mental health evaluation, and then didn't go through with it. That's already in the Baker Act. On top of that, on top of that, my mother also doesn't understand how or why she would need an evaluation. That's also a qualification in the Baker Act. So I am not asking the police to do anything other than enforce the law. Thirdly, again, I have a terminal illness. I am affected by people's actions and behaviors. My residence, my livelihood, my sanity, all things are based on whether or not my mother is safe. If my mother is acting mentally unstable, she is actually in the process of harming me physically. Her actions could result in my death. So, what is going on in Tampa PD's head in which there's absolutely nothing that would qualify her?
Well, I mean, I'm just speaking to you. I haven't looked into anything.
I understand that.
And I'll refer. I'll check with the mental health services, our behavioral health unit, and see if there's anything that can be done.
Okay, I apologize again. This is very emotional for me in the sense of there truly is an emergency. Currently, my mother doesn't seem to even understand anything. Just to kind of give you an anecdotal situation, my mother just recently offered to send me money, but can't explain why or how. And this has been going on for a long time. Now, if that's going on with me, how am I not supposed to believe that's going on with anyone else?
Yeah, I understand your frustration. Dealing with it can be a very frustrating, situation and navigating, the court system. So
Yeah.
I'll look into it, and I'll talk to behavioral health unit, and we'll see what happens from there.
I appreciate anything you can do. Anything that you can help clarify on how I can get her help, whether it be through you guys or anyone else. I want to make it clear that for some reason, what has been happening is as if there isn't any possible way to investigate or get her treatment, and that's extremely frustrating because again, like I'm suffering off of it, but there's also really a question as to who else may be taking advantage of her.
Well, I'll look into it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, take care.
All right.